All things considered, I would have preferred the giant shark. Welcome back, horror fans. I'm Leo, and Bootube Breakdowns is here to save your scary movie night. Right off the bat, The Bay scores a 6.4 out of 10, landing it in our Ghoul Drool category. But here's the thing. I've already had to interview a politician on water quality issues, just to get you the score. And in a few minutes, I'll show you exactly why this film earned its rating. If you disagree with my score at the end of the video, be sure to let me know how much you want to get eaten alive by mutant isopods. Then be sure to like, share, and subscribe about it in the comment section. We begin with a young reporter, Donna, who is speaking to a camera about the events during those haunting 24 hours of the 4th of July Crab Festival in Claridge, Maryland. Found footage shows the festivities include swimming, eating, and bleeding. Clip by clip, we get a story about environmental pollution, government corruption, and a parasitic bloodbath, all set to be disclosed to the unknowing masses. To my shock, the story here is actually pretty good. Basically, the mayor of this small town took donation money from a nearby chicken plant to dump all the chicken poop into the bay. In return, they would add a water filtration plant so the water would be safe to drink. The only problem? The chickens are being pumped with dangerous levels of testosterone, steroids, radioactive waste, heavy metals, and, of all things, fucking Viagra. Holy shit. I bet those chickens look like the creature in my review of The Host, link in the description. Anyways, this led to a rapid outbreak and mutation of parasitic isopod populations exploding in the bay. Once a critical mass was reached, we see the explosion of these rapidly growing and rapidly reproducing parasites start to devour not just the fish in the area, but the residents of the town as well. The story is simple, to the point, and presents from the perspective of found footage from the victims of the incident. It's not groundbreaking, but it's effective and rarely wastes time, with unnecessary takes of people crying in the corner or sitting around arguing about nothing. I'll be giving the story quality for this one a 7 out of 10. Now, found footage strikes again, and the choppiness of the presentation is the film's Achilles heel. However, the way the scenes were blended together was actually masterfully done. Rather than wasting the runtime with useless dead air, the film cut to the point with each clip. Sure, some were completely unnecessary, like the scene where the high school girl and her boyfriend were devoured by the isopods, and the quote-unquote water-damaged film was found weeks later. The side story with Alex and Stephanie didn't need that scene where they found an empty sailboat. Then there's the clips from the marine biologists Sam and Jacqueline. These two had zero chemistry on camera, and half the time I honestly felt like they were gonna fight, and were not here to do research at all. All that said, the clips serve a purpose, connect well to answer basic plot questions, and at 1 hour and 25 minutes, it delivers its message at a lightning fast pace. As a found footage film, it's impressive what they were able to do with this, so I'm gonna be giving the pacing here a 6 out of 10. Imagine this. There are hungry and horny parasites that will eat you from the inside out within a few hours if you get into the infected water with a tiny cut. Yeah, that's absolutely terrifying. The effects used to show the isopods crawling out of the body were really impressive for such a low-budget movie. What's crazy, though, is seeing the prior symptoms. Boils forming in the body, internal bleeding, nausea, all painful and rapidly setting. The doctor at first thought this was either bacterial or fungal, even during the call with the CDC, but it wasn't until the doctor himself got infected that he realized what was happening. All of these symptoms were signs of organ failure, as the tiny larvae were literally eating all of the organs from the inside out. It paints a grim picture that then falls into the found footage problem. In an attempt of realism, shaky cam and water damage footage, we don't really see as much as we should have, which I believe ultimately takes away from the whole experience. Now, after a 2-point cheap scare deduction, I will be leaving the fear factor here at a 6 out of 10. Okay, yeah, got me on this one. The movie was actually really fun to experience. If nothing else, the isopods are based on real-life parasitic animals that were making headlines in 2012 for eating fish from the inside out. The movie has a basic environmentalist message to it, but it wasn't preachy, so it was actually easy to get on board with it. The movie presents a very real monster without having to go over the top. You don't need 50-foot-long isopods, just millions released into the water all at once during a massive spawning event. Then there's the other fun question. When was the last time you saw a horror movie about parasites? And no, I'm not talking about that parasite. That one is more of an alien. Anyways, it's a fairly original concept with a great execution in a tight movie. If not for the shaky cams and camera glitches, I probably would have enjoyed the experience more, but I am comfortable giving this movie's fun factor an 8 out of 10. Well, the ending here is pretty weak, as most found footage films tend to be. We cut back to Donna talking about how the CDC, the Navy, the FBI, and the National Guard quarantined the town, dumped chlorine into the bay to kill off the parasites, and then conspired to cover the whole thing up. She says some basic bitch activist line about how, oh, we won't let them get away with this as long as more people know, and roll credits. Look. If the government wanted this covered up, they would have just called Google domains, tell them to track and provide the domains where all of this is shared and stored, and they would just shut it down. Thinking you can set up a blog somewhere and now you defeated the government is peak 2012 internet illiteracy. Don't know what else to say here. The ending was kind of whatever, and I believe if director Barry Levinson spent the ending showing the threat of this parasite spreading in a dramatic yet subtle way, like for example, infecting 3 babies in a newborn ward at a nearby hospital, it would have been more effective at closing a horror movie and still get away with the environmentalist message. Instead, we dump chlorine in the bay and say, oh, think of the poor biodiversity. Ending for me gets a 5 out of 10. So that's Bootube Breakdowns' take on The Bay. Averaging our scores gives this movie a 6.4 out of 10, which places it in our Ghoul Drool category. Do you agree with my rating? Scream your score in the comments and tell me what horror flick I should get next. If this saved your spooky vibes, smash the like, share with your horror crew, hit that notification bell, and subscribe to Bootube Breakdowns for more killer verdicts. Keep it creepy, and I'll haunt you in the next review.